education. Democratic education is giving young people the option to pick what they want to study, when they want to study, and who they want to study with. So to pick their teachers, to pick their timetable. We're also about pushing forward for young people to have a voice when we go to a lot of events. So in terms of democratic education, from what I've told you, what do you think of democratic education, the idea of giving young people the option to say, well, they don't want to do a particular course and they'd rather focus on just one or maybe four?
I think it's a really cool concept in the sense that, but I think it depends on what age you start from. You know what I mean? Because when you're young, at particular ages, certain things interest you, but then you grow and evolve out of those things. You know what I mean? So I think it would depend at what age you start giving them that choice as to their timetable. I mean, if it went into, like, for me, if it was like college, that would be ideal for me. You know what I mean? Because I kind of had a better understanding of what I enjoyed, what I wanted to do, and why I wanted to do it. Whereas when I was in primary school, if you asked me to pick my courses, all of them would be related to comic books or cartoons or Pokemon, you know what I mean? So I think it kind of depends, because your interests change so quickly when you're going through those years. But I think the most important aspect of what you guys are trying to do is the voice part, which I think is essential to any kind of fundamental learning, because it's not a one-way transaction, it's two-way. Like, you're teaching me, and at the same time you can learn just as much from me, because I'm growing up in a different era to you. I have a different understanding of the world, and I'm seeing it in a different context. So I think that one-way cycle of feeding information is counterproductive to learning as a whole. Learning is intuitive. We talk, I learn, we go back and forth. So I think that voice aspect and that interacting with the student aspect is key to create a productive learning system.
Okay, so saying that, what do you think about our system at the moment, our educational system? What is your take on it?
I think it's flawed to the extent. I understand the difficulties in trying to change it. It's not as easy. It's a lot easier said than done. But I think it's flawed to the extent where it's too rigid, and it doesn't cater for every type of individual. You know what I mean? Which would make it difficult. But at the same time, it only caters to such a minority type of individual that it's not conducive for our development as a society or as young adults trying to understand the world. You know what I mean? It doesn't incorporate that aspect, and I think there's not enough emphasis placed on things like life. You know what I mean? In school, you go out of school, they tell you to get a mortgage, interest rates, all this stuff. You never, unless you specify in a particular maths course, you never learn these things in school. You know what I mean? You never learn stuff about the importance of networking. That's one of the key skills to get anywhere in life. That's never emphasized in school. You know what I mean? They never take just life skills, even something as simple as emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? How to react emotionally. Some people can get a job and they arrive late every single day, and they're not taught how to conduct themselves in a professional manner, and I think those are things which are then overlooked within the school system at the moment. And I think if stuff like that was incorporated just to make them more accommodating for real life scenarios, it'd be more beneficial to students.
What were you like in school, and were you part of the student council?
Oh, it's funny because a lot of people always see me as quite revolutionary, radical, because but when I was in school, I mean, I was very lackadaisical. I was like I was just very passive. I didn't really care. You know what I mean? As long as it was very easy for me, not easy to me, but I didn't have to try too hard to pass. You know what I mean? And there was never a point in school, except for when it got competitive. I mean, my mum took me to all-boys school for a year, and then I wanted to get better than everybody. I wanted to get results better than everybody. Prior to that, I didn't care what was going on around me. You know, as long as my world was okay, I never really looked about student council. I always had this mentality where it was kind of defeatist in a sense, but it was like, the world is how it is. You know, let me read my comic books and watch my movies and do whatever I want, and I didn't care. Then when I was sent to all-boys school for 1 year in sixth form, and it became competitive that everybody, I was coming from Wood Green, and most of these guys were from like Enfield, and they would look down at me. A guy actually said to me once, he said to me, "You're quite smart considering where you're from." You know what I mean? Like, he actually said this to me. You know what I mean? And like, this was going to turn into a fight. I almost got into so many fights that I was suspended, everything. But I mean, when it became competitive, that's when I actually started. I got to like be a bit more active in studying. And then that's when I first discovered a passion for learning, and that's when I first understood the importance of learning. And I think from then that triggered the thinking, but I wasn't active until a few years down the line when it started developing slowly. That planted the seeds. Then initially, upon leaving school, that's when I started doing the spoken word. But it was never my intention to be like radical or revolutionary. It was all more just internalizing and expressing what I felt was wrong and what was going on. You know what I mean? So I was never really like that student who was always talking. I